us all about Fading Light, because it is absolutely delicious.
Yeah, so the Fading Light is our first aged rum, released at the end of 2018. It's not your normal aged rum because it's aged in chestnut casks rather than oak. And the thinking behind that was that we did a bit of research and found out that chestnut is actually more porous than oak. So that gives a little bit more interaction with the wood and the oxidation, and it just means things happen a bit quicker because, as you know, we're not really a very tropical climate here.
Where are you, sir, for everyone that's that doesn't know?
We're right up the north in Orkney, so I think mainland Scotland's angel share of whiskey is about 2%, and here it can be around 1%. So we wanted, maybe not speed it up, but just a bit more interaction with wood. And then we found chestnut, and we get around a 9 to 11% angel share.
Terrifying.
So the current batch that you'll be drinking is in the cask for 18 months, but it's a blend of 1 to 2 year olds that we aim for. Don't really want to leave it much longer because there won't be much left. No retribution.
Cool. So for those that have got the rum in their glass, please enjoy it. Do share any observations on this, because I would say, as a rummy, chestnut matured spirits in general are something of a rarity. It's very difficult to think of anyone else actually out on the market. I can think of maybe acacia being used and some other casks, but mostly it's previously used American white oak. So we'd generally love to have your feedback on this one. But maybe you can take us a little bit through the process and your thinking on setting up the distillery and the challenges maybe that you faced. So be as loquacious as you like, sir.
So yeah, we started the brand 2016, started distilling 2017. The name J. Gow comes from John Gow, who's Orkney's very own 17th century pirate. Rum and pirates, there's no real escape for it, so it just kind of made sense. He was born in around late 1600s, and then his ship ran aground off one of the smaller islands here, and he was tried and hanged, but he was actually hanged twice because the rope snapped the first time. So pretty brutal, but yeah, that's the pirate life, I guess. So got into rum because I really, really like rum, so that sort of makes sense. But my dad's been making fruit wine in Orkney for about 20 years. So he's had this building for the last sort of 10 years. He was trying to get me to take over his business, but instead of doing that, I stole half the building, put a still in it, and started making J. Gow rum. So this is our still, as you can see. It's a 2,000 litre unit. It's a hybrid pot still, so it's a pot still that has a packed column on it. So it gives us a bit of versatility. That means we can run it like a pot still, get nice, heavy, almost like funky rums. That's like the Fading Light, or we can get lighter sort of column style rums off it as well, up to about 93%. But we usually run it more like a pot still, so it'll come off the still at about 65%. I actually started my first fermentation since lockdown began today. We got a shiny new pump delivered yesterday, so I don't know why I got so excited about pump, but I was pretty excited. It worked beautifully. So we've got 2,000 litres on the go in here at the minute. That'll ferment for around 7 days, and then it'll be stripped off in a stripper run. So we extract all the alcohol, get it down to about 30%. But I've only made one batch just now because I want to use the leftover stillage, the back set that's left in this from the stripper run, split it across the two fermenters to then use it again for the heavier rum. So yeah, there's not much waste. We like to reuse the back set as it adds to the flavour. I think a lot of people have mentioned dunder and sour mash, like what they do in bourbon and things like that already. But yeah, that's similar to what we do. We do make quite a lot of different marks. We have a sort of standard rum, a heavy dunder rum, then a higher strength one, and we're working on some little ester experiments as well. But yeah, we'll trial that in the next month or so. So that's pretty exciting. The Fading Light that you're drinking now is actually fermented for 14 days. So it's just a slightly different mark to the standard rum. We use a little bit less nutrients, a different nutrient bill, so the yeast has to work a bit harder, and then you get a little bit of that funk coming through.
So I present this as a disembodied voice, Colin, so everyone can see your setup there. Are you able to show us a little bit more about the fermentation? Do you have any particular molasses that you bring in? Any thoughts on the yeast strains and things that you use? Because we're sort of highlighting that flavor generation is quite important. I mean, I think of the fading light, that the taste of the chestnut is also quite a significant flavor contribution there. But
we use the highest grade molasses at the moment. We're actually on our third supplier now, but this stuff that we're using is 67% sugar. High quality stuff. You get great fermentation. It almost ferments flat, so the gravity will finish at around 1.005. So not much residual sugars left at all, which is ideal. We have done a few trials with 47% sugar, but it's dirty, heavy rum, so that needs maturing in a cask for, I'd say, 8 to 12 years before that'll become good. What else?
So there was but the fading light is not the only one that you've produced so far. You've done a spice.
Yeah, we start with a spice. I think it's pretty standard nowadays to sort of start with a spice rum to get some cash flow coming back, and we do rest that on oak for up to 1 year. But yeah, that was our first one, released in 2017. Then this came out in 2018, and our first 3-year-old is getting released in October, and that's actually going to be a single cask strength. It's around 56%. And then next year we'll have our standard 3-year-old out, so that'll be around 43, 46. We haven't fully blended and cut it yet, so we're not 100% sure. The actual spot we're on is quite unique as well, because it's an uninhabited island. So right now I'm probably the only person on this island. Well, I hope I am. It's 0.15 square miles. So we've got distillery, winery. There's an Italian chapel that was built by Italian prisoners of war. There's an airstrip and a lobster hatchery. So quite a variety of things going on. We're about 50 meters from the sea and only 2 meters above sea level. We've had to put in thousands of tons of stone to stop the sea coming over and smashing against the shop. So I think that aids, well, doesn't aid, but it gives us a sort of unique maturation location and all that sort of stuff. In some of the older ones that are approaching 3 years, you're almost getting a sort of saltiness in some of the aftertaste stuff. You can definitely taste the sea air in it. But,
that's this idea. We were just on Banditio, kind of. They were talking about the base that they were using, and I kind of think, I really wanted to understand what that rum tastes like if it was a different base. You've got so many factors going on there with the mark of the rum that you're making, the chestnut, the environment. It's like, I'm thinking about this. Can you just send a couple of casks of new mate down to somewhere else just to see how they mature in comparison? I'm sure you could do a cask exchange with Kit or something like that.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Yeah,
just know what that environment's like. I mean, at 2 meters above sea level, how do you even survive the winters?
Well, our cars just rust away. It's yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And a lot of things. I know that the sea air where I live kind of eats things, but you're taking it to extremes there.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, as I was saying, we do quite a lot of different marks, and I think it's good to put away different stocks of different things, because our main goal is to do 8s, 12s, like proper old rum. That's my vision with the brand. So we've got all sorts of casks. We've got majority is ex-bourbon. We've got some virgin oak, some ex-red wine, ex-port, which is tasting unreal fruity. I drew like 10 cask samples last week, and I had to split it over 2 days. It was hard work. Yeah, we're experimenting all the time and putting away different stuff, and yeah, looking to build on our core range. As I said, our standard 3 will be out next year. That'll be majority ex-bourbon, but that'll be our heavy dunder expression. So we use the back set from the strip and run, and we use dunder from our muck pit as well. That's bacterially fermented, and it's got a beautiful pellicle on it, which I think is beautiful, but a lot of people think is gross.
Well, I suppose there's any chance we could take a peek, could we? Because I know it might put people.
I'm kind of wired into a million cables, so it's
okay.
on the laptop is a bit difficult.
You got an old laptop there, is it? A bit heavy. I mean, you're a big lad. All this working out you've been doing over
I
lockdown.
can lift it, but it's like wired in because the internet's broken. So.
I hear you. That's fine. We don't need to see it. Well, yeah, I mean, when we looked previously, so you've got a number of casts, but is there any 40 and a range of styles, wood type. So it's not all chestnut, is it? So
no, it's about a quarter of it's with chestnut, and then about half is bourbon, and then the other stuff's like experimental stuff. Yeah.
Well, it's not one on the rum. So I mean, like, it's any of the stuff when you were developing the rum. So I mean, kind of, I got I know that you were doing the spice rum, but I got the impression that you've never released a white rum. So the idea
in the business plan, but then the fade and light happened. So yeah, we just haven't really got around to it. I think if we were to release white rum, I would want to make it like funky estery rum, so it's something a bit different, like in a Scottish market, because there's a lot of good white rums out there already, and so it makes sense to do something a bit different. But yeah, we're not sure. Just see how it goes.
So you have got tours up and running for those that when you get back out to Orkney. That's right, isn't it?
We're not doing them at the moment because of the whole COVID thing. It's pretty tight in here. It's hard to socially distance, but we've got our shop open and we're doing tastings and things. But yeah, normally we do tours. Yeah.
So when we were looking at the distillery to start with, I was kind of interested about the ice still, and I assumed that there was you chose it for a technological reason, but it wasn't that at all.
Because it's Dutch.
Well, there is that, is there?
No.
But like, you have other restrictions as well.
Because we're on uninhabited island, we're joined to the mainland Orkney by the Churchill Barrier, so they're just causeways across the sea. The sea literally comes over them in the winter and they get closed. But yeah, we have a substation and that can only handle X amount of power. They're direct heated 36 kilowatt, and that is pretty much the maximum. We've got 2 units, one set up just as a fermenter at the moment, but we couldn't run them both on full power. All the other islands will be out of power, and that wouldn't make us very popular. So.
No, fair enough. But you don't have to. So you're not having to ration. You can use it and you can distill any time. You're not.
Yeah, we can use as much electricity as we want up to a certain point, I guess.
I think it's fascinating, honestly. But at the moment, you're only making rum. You're not looking to try any other spirits. Not making a whiskey or whatever.
No, not at the moment. No. As I say, my dad does fruit wines. He does fruit ports and things, and he's got some interest in 10-year-old things and some interest in cask maturation of things. So it'd be cool to borrow some of his casks as well down the line and get some interesting cask finishes. We actually have one as well. We filled at the start of the year. We're hoping it's going to be another sort of world first type thing, but should be good. I think we're putting that way for 5 to 8 years. So yeah, it's all time, isn't it? You can't rush these things.
No, well, this is part of because if you're gonna, you want a product that is a truly quality product, and if you're going to put an age statement on it, it's got to mean something rather than just an influence or never been tempted to do a Solera rum out there.
My dad is keen to do it, but I just think it's a lot of hassle with like HMRC and all that sort of stuff, like juggling a cask. That's like nah.
So it's worth mentioning on the previous one we had quite a lot of enthusiasm for the spice rum. But you really should tell us. We sort of glossed over the spice rum a little bit, but you should give us all the details on the spice rum because these are the things that interest people and bring them in to have a taster.
Yeah, so we use 7 different spices. The bottle here. 7 different spices. It's all whole spices, so it's allspice, licorice root, orange peel, a tiny bit of vanilla, and my mind's gone blank. But and then there is 2 secret ingredients that are grown in Orkney, and like you wonder what grows in Orkney, but no one's actually guessed them yet. So great. And we only had 5 grams of sugar per liter, and that's the only thing we add sugar to. Won't be adulterating any of our other rums, but it's just to give it that little bit of initial sweetness that people I think come to expect from spiced rums.
spice rum. It's part of it. It also helps round out
on the drier side of spice rum. Works really well with ginger beer as well. That's sort of our recommended mixer for the spiced. For the thin light, I like to drink it straight. It works as a sipper.
Delicious.
But yeah, the cocktail wise, Manhattans are awesome. Classic daiquiris. I really like it in like rum sour as well. And I think just with the lemon, it just really binds it together. Nice bit of egg white. It's just awesome. But yeah, the one we have on our website, the most recent one was a banana daiquiri, and that's just phenomenal with it. If you want just a mixer, we've used like mango juice or pineapple juice as well, just to give it that sort of tropical, and then that balances with the slight funky note that's in it. Someone's saying seaweed. Nah, it's not seaweed. No.
Puffins is easily crabs or clams or
Nah, nothing weird.
Weird. We should really get to. I mean, you have we have an opportunity to try and pick your brains. I know you're a man of many words, not many words at times.
Sometimes I ramble, but I just.
No, you have. When we've sort of chatted offline, you express sort of strong thoughts on what it is to be Scottish rum. So it's and this is something that you're proud of. I mean, you can't get more Scottish than something being made in Orkney. But is this something? I mean, how important is this for you? Is this something that needs to be written into law? That the tenets of
I think some guidelines would be good, and for sure that is something that is being worked on in the background. But I think if you're calling it Scottish rum, Scottish pure single rum, then I think it's a good idea that it's fermented, distilled, matured, bottled in Scotland. Yeah, I just think for transparency's sake, I think it makes total sense. We don't add any colouring or any sugar in that, as I think that's been an ongoing thing. Like, colour is not a flavour. A lot of people go, ooh, it's really light, but because they're used to drinking dark rums, but then when you taste it, it's like, oh, it is actually quite heavy. Yeah, we don't add colouring. It's just different woods, different colour, and continental aging's not really going to yield the same colour as tropical aging ever. So
yeah, I think there's a lot of. I mean, we mentioned this with Ninefold earlier on. You have the same term on the bottle, pure single rum. This is for sort of harking back to the Gargano classification, sort of changing that conversation around rum. And I think it's probably fair to say that when you started making rum, you didn't necessarily, that wasn't what you had in mind, but while you were sort of developing it, the conversation in general around the world has upgraded. I know this is very much the same for Kit, that when he started making, we weren't using the sort of terminology that it is now. But we want people to talk about rum rather than just dark or just gold. We want people to say, well, what actually is it that we like about it? And I think this is it kind of relates to if you're into spice rum and that's all you drink, then you kind of, when you see the word spice rum on there, you know what you're buying. You're buying a flavored product. But we hope that people will maybe drop the overly simplistic terminology. I mean, like, say, just to kind of labour the point on the chestnut cask, this is a rarity to see chestnut cask matured spirits, and I know that Dave Broom have been quite complimentary of its use. That it's terrifying that if you're losing like 97% per annum angel share, I mean, like, this isn't going to be a long age product, so there won't be anything left.
I think we're laying down one or two to do like a fading light XO or whatever we call it, just to see what happens. But yeah, it's going to be sad. It's watching it all evaporate. But yeah,
it's putting a name down on a cask. I say, yeah, hey, I'll buy a cask. Like, I'm going to leave it for 10 years, and you get there, and all you got is a slightly damp cask. It'll turn out to be the most expensive barrel ever, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got. So I think you say about raising the conversation. This idea of there are plenty of producers on the market. If you saw something as light as that, there are plenty of people that would say, you know what, I'm a bit worried about perception. I'll put a little bit of E150A in there, and then that will effectively pander to the sort of the mass market's view on rum should look like. That's a very easy thing to do, and it sort of makes it easy for people.
Yeah, I really didn't want to do that with this, because then if I then go with like a 3-year-old or an 8-year-old, oh, we're so transparent, we don't add anything, but then people will just be like, yeah, but I think just start as you mean to go on, and just definitely just be honest about what's in it.
Do you get people that actually kind of, want the word negative, but actually kind of go like, actually say, no, actually, it doesn't look right, or it doesn't look old enough, or something like that? Do do they change their mind once they've tried it?
Yeah, I think once you explain to them that a lot of time dark rum is just caramel, then they're like, oh, really? Then they still say the odd argument like, oh, you eat with your eyes, but I mean, you don't go into a bar and go, oh, can I get a dark whiskey? So just stop it.
Oh, no, I always go and order gold cognac, because that just makes me laugh. Let's have a look at the gold cognacs, please. No, it's the rum category is one that we all kind of love, and it does seem to have to put up with some terrible cliches along the way, doesn't it? It does seem a little unfair that we have to put up with it, but new people coming to market, so for people to start to recognise there is a rum scene in Scotland, then this is the people leading with appropriate conversation can only be good. So
I think all the conversations opened up a lot anyway, from even when we started in 2017 to now. It's just everyone's so much more clued up on what's going on. I think it's brilliant.
We ought to have a poll out there and ask actually about the chestnut, whether people would like to see chestnut used more widely from with other producers, or are you going to let would you be upset actually if you saw other producers start to adopt it?
Well, I think Plantation already do one, but I think I upset him.
He used every cast going, I think.
I think I upset him at Rum Fest because he thought he was the only one using it, and then someone brought a bottle of Thin Light in front of him, and he didn't look too pleased. So, oh well.
That's right. I mean, he can't be expected to know every other brand on the market, can he?
No, I wouldn't be upset. I think it's cool. Cool to see different woods being used. There's so many different things going on. As I said, it's more porous. It's higher in vanillins and gallic acid, and all sorts of nerdy stuff I could go into. But it's like, it just gives it a different profile. Even if you age the same spirits side by side in chestnut and oak, and then you chromatograph all the spirit at the end, the levels and things, esters are just completely different.
Like a tiger kind of barrel, could you swap the staves out so you got like half and half to see how that kind of goes?
That would be cool, but it's quite soft though, because we found if there's any leaks, we wrote one cask off because it had a leak, so we had to empty it and then try to fix it with a cedar spile, and we just split. So it's quite soft.
Wow! Oh my God! All these things we don't think about. There's me a couple of years ago talking about there's life beyond American oak. It's come on, be bold and try new things.
I think that's a good thing about rum. Tied down like whiskey, it has to be oak. Yeah. It's really cool. I don't think we'll be doing any sort of Arcadian wood casks, because that's.
Is there any? No, there isn't any. Long since gone.
We've run out of willow. It's about the only tree that grows here, but that's not really going to work.
So obviously, we got any other questions? And what would you? I mean, what do you want to do for in the future if you had an unlimited budget? Is there anything you'd like to achieve?
Get double retort still.
So you've got your eye on the copper already. Yeah.
Well, we have this unit that's just serves as a fermenter, but we want to build our own sort of thing on it over the next few years. Even just a little retort on there would be nice. Just something like that. And I want to build the brand up so that we're known for good rum. I want there to be a hype about when we release a single cask, and people know that hopefully it's going to be good, that thing, that sort of thing. I'm just really, really looking forward to tasting what it's like in 12 years. When I did that tasting last week, the difference between the 1-year-old and the 3-year-old, because I remember tasting the 1-year-old the first time, I'd be like, oh, wow. But now tasting it compared to the 3-year-old, I'm like, that is nothing. The 3-year-old is unreal, so it's just going to keep getting better.
Well, I guess there's not been people using it, especially in your environment. So you're setting a trend. People will be looking to you for feedback on how to get the best out of that kind of cask, I think. Because it could, who knows, 4 years, of course, it might go in a different direction without realising at all. But until you get there, we'll never know.
Yeah, pretty much. You don't really know, but that's why we're not aging all of it on the chestnut too long. So max 2 years for the thin light, and we might put some away for a bit longer, just see what happens.
Yeah. So you do have bourbon cask maturing as well.
Yeah, got quite a lot of bourbon from there, ex Heaven Hill, most of it, which is lovely. But
how's it coming? Does it feel like it's going to take a few more years?
No, it'll be out next year, sort of. Start of summer next year, and we'll blend that, so that'll be not just a single cask. It might be bourbon and virgin oak, but we don't know yet because the art of blending is something else I need to learn now. It's a whole nother skill to learn, but yeah, it's tasting unreal. So heavy, funky, licoricey, and yeah, sweet as well, naturally sweet. It's just incredible. Super excited.
You make it sound so alluring. I love the idea of just like I'd make a terrible rum producer because I'm not drinking all my own stock. I think would be the problem. But yeah, there was a good question coming there about where do you source the chestnut?
Italy.
Oh, chestnut cask. Sorry,
Get them from Italy.
Italy.
Yeah.
That particularly tricky to get hold of, or
it's gonna be trickier. Yeah. They were sending me them no bother for a while, and then they realised I'm on an island, and they started charging an extra like €200 shipping. So that was a bit annoying, but it's like just check the map, But I will.
Fair play. Cool. So let's have a little scan through, see if we got any other questions in there. I think this one has proven to be like those sort of technical things. Yeah. You have got quite a lot of recipes. And that's on the website.
I like just doing a daiquiri. I was going to do a quick daiquiri, but I don't have got time. But
you've definitely got time to whip up a daiquiri, and if you've got particular specification of syrup or whatever that you use in order to get it, you feel just right.
Let's see if I can see the cask in there. Yes, you can. Right, so I just like to do a basic sort of spec. So it's usually about 50 ml rum, 20 ml simple syrup, 20 ml lime, and 15 simple, so 1:1. And then you can chuck in half a fruit, and it makes a pretty cool daiquiri. And it's great because if you use the whole fruit, you can have a double, or you have 2 daiquiris. So last time I made them with kiwi. That's the first time using kiwi. The thing might actually really work with kiwi, so that was cool. So we just add 50 ml of the lime. I say 20 lime, but like I'm pretty easy with it. I usually just go half a lime. And I don't use squeezy things, I just use my thumbs because.
Oh, beefcake.
You got your rum, your lime, and some simple syrup, which is just 1 part sugar, 1 part water. 15, that was a bit too much, that was fine. And then we'll get half a banana in there. Nice ripe one, so you get that sort of good flavour. Then just muddle it up, smash it up a little bit. Quite easy. If it's ripe enough, it's like super soft, so it's easy. Let's say you could put the kiwi in there. I've done ones with cherry and then a little high ester overproof rum float on it, and just yeah. Is it a daiquiri at that point? I don't know, but it's tasty. There, then just add your ice. Been sitting out a while, and I had to take it from home, so it's a little bit less frozen than it was. And then shake it till it's frosty. I'm bad for over shaking, but oh well. I don't mind a few bits of floating ice on it. I quite like that.
Don't worry about it, mate. When you got a heavy rum, to be fair, it benefits the dilution, I think.
Yeah, really simple. As I said, if you look on the Facebook or Instagram for the page, I did one with kiwi last night. Same recipe, but just half a kiwi. And it's quite cool in the glass. If you leave the seeds in the glass, it actually looks like you've cut a kiwi in half. Pretty cool.
Bring the cocktail a bit closer to the screen so we can actually kind of see what it looks like up in the light.
It's quite thick,
Go
but it's delicious. You have a little sip.
Oh God, if only. You just alluded. What's that on the balcony over there? Is that interesting stuff hidden over there?
Grapefruit tree.
That's
Actually got grapefruits on it, but we haven't used them yet. But the citrus leaves are amazing. You can do quite a lot with them.
Well, maybe that'll be the special Christmas edition. Cool, wonderful. I think that was very, very, very cool. Thank you very much for your time, mate. About the rum production.